Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is December 6th, and we're doing business and social stories for your hump day.
Most American businesses are on coast mode, and only the worst news comes out in December. So it's like nonsense for business.
Well, this is some bad news, but you kind of had to expect this because this company did a very dumb thing, and they got a serious backlash for it. I feel for these people, but at the same time, I don't feel for this company.
Unity Software to cut 3.8% of staff in a company reset.
Yes, it's the staff who were wrong.
They're resetting the company because the leadership did some dumb things.
Very dumb.
I mean, they needed more money, apparently. And so leadership did some drastic things.
Well, now they have less money.
And they have even less money than they did to start with.
Considerably less money. You know who else has less money, apparently, is... no, sit down for this. This is a shock. People who own Apple devices might not be good at managing money. I know it's crazy.
Report from Ars Technica. Apple and Goldman Sachs are breaking up over money-losing Apple Card. Oh, man, this is like the ultimate Level 1 predicts. Remember when this first happened? I mean, that was like half that episode of the news was us talking about how stupid this was.
So apparently the Apple Card users, they like buying stuff. But the problem is they don't have any money to pay for it.
Yeah.
But this situation lets them buy it without having that money. But then when it comes time to pay for it, they just don't.
There are so many services like this now, like Klarna and stuff. And it's like, how is that ever going to work? Because people are so impulsive. Like,
it's not. Now, we don't know what's going to happen here because these cards aren't going away, apparently. Apple's going to keep supporting this program, but they're going to have to find another idiot to hold this bag. What bank is going to be dumb enough to do this?
Yeah, the impressive thing here was that Apple apparently came out on top, and Goldman Sachs was the one left holding the bag. Like I thought that you know, the deal that had been struck was Apple would have their hardware paid for, but Goldman Sachs and Apple would maybe split the risk on the margin. So like Apple loses out on their margin, and Goldman Sachs, you know, their risk is losing out on the profit, but not ever going in the hole. But no, apparently Goldman Sachs it's like billions of dollars in the hole on these credit cards that nobody wants to pay for.
It's amazing that all of American Apple users can generate $1 billion worth of fraudulent activity in such a short amount of time.
Well, you look at it and it's like, oh, I got to have the latest and greatest iPhone 15. And then you realize that, you know, Apple wants like $2,000 for that. And by the time you get that paid for, the iPhone 16 will have been out for a year.
But don't worry, because I've got this magic card. And I just give it to them and they give me phones. It's great.
I always go back to that thing, and it was one of those weed out things in computer science that was like, you know, imagine how you would feel if you had blueberries for breakfast yesterday. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't have blueberries. And it's like, okay, that kind of response means that computer science is not for you.
Well, computer science might not be for you, but Xbox Game Pass is, or at least according to Microsoft, because they say it is for literally everybody.
E for everyone.
Microsoft wants Game Pass on PlayStation, Nintendo, and every screen possible. Okay.
I don't know if Nintendo's going to go for that.
No.
Yeah.
I can tell you Nintendo is already really upset that I'm playing Metroid Prime Corruption on my Steam Deck, which, by the way, is amazing.
Well, the big Sam Altman thing all played out.
Whatever that was.
It's over. He's back. Some changes have been made, and it was made to the people who got rid of him.
Microsoft has joined OpenAI's board with Sam Altman officially back as CEO. Now, don't worry, Microsoft's on the board, but they are not voting. Some people on OpenAI's board are so salty, they have resigned and said no.
Did you read his letter in this?
Yeah, would you characterize what we know about the whole Altman drama at this point as there's OpenAI, the nonprofit, and they're saying we want to do this for the good of humanity. And then there's everybody else who's saying, but OpenAI is going to make so much money.
Everybody else being mostly Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely how I see that. And maybe the board was saying, hey guys, listen, it's moving too fast. It's getting scary. Maybe tap the brakes a little bit. And then once again, everybody plus the powerhouse of Microsoft was like, no,
We need money.
it will continue.
The letter was almost like a victory lap.
Yeah.
It was very like, at one point he literally said, I love you to multiple people at the company.
could he have had more of a victory?
Maybe, if he like burned down someone's house. Like,
If he had literally killed those 3 people, maybe that would be more of a victory and gotten away with it.
There's still time.
And now that Microsoft has gobbled up Activision Blizzard, maybe part of this whole like Game Pass in front of everybody was some of the stuff that they had already been talking about.
Activision Blizzard had a plan or a ploy to launch its own Android game store doing side loading. So this may be important with the whole Apple App Store side loading thing going on, but this is part of the Google thing that's heating up.
So they basically said, if Google plays ball enough, we'll go with them. If they don't, the nuclear option is we're side loading and we're going to try to make basically Steam in the mobile platform.
Hey, wait a minute. Didn't in the Christian Bale Batman movie with Morgan Freeman, didn't the Wayne Enterprises boardroom takeover thing play out exactly like OpenAI, or Bruce Wayne had to come back later?
I don't think it was quite like that.
No.
I mean, it was similar in that there was one person who mattered, and they tried to get rid of them.
And then they were able to, yeah. And then it's Morgan
Are you
Freeman.
comparing him to Batman? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd make that comparison. Maybe in terms of how much money they have.
What is he vigilante against?
A world without AI.
Other large language models. So it's like, no, we have to. I wonder who his Morgan Freeman is. It's like, no, we've made the model too smart. We need to make the model dumber. It's like, okay, we'll let the model be sentient so that it helps us get the Joker. But then after that, we have to shut it down.
He's definitely not the hero we need. But is he the one we deserve? Well, if you've had enough of this and you just want to forget it all and tune it all out and look at some memes, maybe you're having an easier time finding those from now on.
Google's .meme domain is here to serve your wackiest websites. Quick, Krista, we need to do a .meme that is, this meeting should have been an email .meme.
This is embarrassing, but I have a folder, just memes on my desktop, and it's probably got like 500 images in it at this point.
Registered domain, put those on the cloud.
I post them periodically to Twitter, but I really should be posting more often for how many that I'm acquiring.
Now this, there's a preview window, but unfortunately by the time you hear this, it'll be over. They're now officially for sale, full price. Go get them. And the browser game is heating up. Actually, this is not the only hot new browser on the market right now, but it seems that maybe some of that regulatory capture and some of that control is being exercised by Google.
Google Play keeps banning the same web browser over and over again due to vague DMCA notices. One of the DMCA notices said this web browser can load the Warner Brothers website.
I was very confused by that.
Who issued that DMCA? Warner Brothers. Now this is called Downloader, and it does have a little bit more functionality in that it doesn't just show you the website, it actually downloads it. Here's a pro tip for those of you who don't understand the web. All web browsers do that.
I think they really ought to put a little bow on it and say that that's for accessibility reasons.
Anyway, they are having a real tough time. It's been DMCA'd in the past, and he appealed, and they obviously couldn't prove anything, but now it just keeps happening. And we see this headline so many times. People just keep falling for it. It shows maybe how infantilized we are as a society.
Google Maps' new look may frustrate California drivers as Thanksgiving travel begins.
Wow, this is not the story that I thought it was.
No, but there's another one. I know what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
referencing.
Right, this is the maps. And I do agree that
Thanksgiving is over by a lot.
This seems wrong because, like, in the old times, the interstates and the big roads were yellow and the other ones were a different color, but now we're all the same.
My issue, again, is from an accessibility standpoint, is that this is not very high contrast. And while it does look nicer, it might be a little harder to read.
And why did the watercolor change?
Because we killed all the stuff in the water.
It's the water heating up, yeah.
An algae bloom.
Killing all the crabs.
It's just like somebody decided we have to have a new update, come up with something.
What's crazy is that there are like services that will skin maps like that. Why not just make it a preference?
You got to do something different. It's got to be a big announcement. We're rolling out a new update. And Google Chrome is one of the few browsers that is still kicking around using those third-party cookies because, of course, the advertising world demands it. But they say, no, seriously this time. For real. We've said this in the past and you didn't believe us, but for real it's happening.
Google Chrome coders really, truly, absolutely ready to call third-party cookies from 2024. This is likely to impact anything from font serving to logins and cross-site. There's a lot of useful functionality that is going to get swept up in this, but mostly it's about third-party tracking like Facebook/Meta. Mostly.
You can actually already turn it off if you want to in Chrome, which might be useful, although it will break some websites. There's
a lot of like really, really old school font embeds. There's some font houses that charge you like per page load. And so they track that, and that's going to get swept up in this. A lot of people's fonts are going to break unless they update to a new embed, which they won't.
That's why you always have a backup font listed in your list of fonts.
Nobody ever does that. Or if they do, they pick up a backup font that's like
Comic Sans.
17 pixels wider than the other one, and then they're like, "Why does the text layout not work now?" And it's like, well,
this is the one that I was talking about being infantilized. I did a bad intro, but here it is.
Straight through the bushes, Google Maps misleads Californians into the desert during dust storm. I'm pretty sure that we've covered stories in the past where people drove off a cliff because
the lakes.
Their GPS was like, "Go this way." It's like,
mostly at the lakes, yeah. These people destroyed a small car. They were coming from the F1 race in Vegas. Turns out there's only one way in and out of the area they were going, but there was a dust storm. And Google was like, "Oh no, there's a dust storm. Go here." When it was just
it's literally, well, and they said that some guy pulled up in a truck and was like, "Where are y'all from? You can't. There's nothing out here." And they were like, "Oh," but then they were stuck.
Maybe don't trust it. And the advertising world is getting a little bit heated because one of the things that people are going after now is that, like, I don't want my ad to appear on X, Y, and Z. But the ad platforms, I don't think they have that much control, actually. Or maybe they just don't care.
Ars Technic's headline is Google has been caught placing big brand ads on adult websites, according to this report. So, yeah, you know, one of the things that advertisers were complaining about on X, see what I did there? Google was already doing a lot.
Now, they point out some of the brands here: Amazon, Apple, BMW, Home Depot, Lego, Meta, blah, blah, blah. Do they really think that their customers don't visit those sites?
Well, I could see if you're something maybe that advertises more toward children that you might not
Lego
want.
could be an issue, I guess. But
the other stuff is so general.
I bet there's a lot of people on those websites that have Legos.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to buy the $300 Apollo rocket model. It's like, well, okay.
Did you choose a phallic one on purpose?
We have that set. It's in our living room.
And remember when Netflix got into video gaming? No one else does either. I don't know anybody that uses it, but apparently it's something that other companies want to do.
YouTube is getting into games too, because it doesn't matter how we have your attention, just as long as we have your attention.
Can you guys just fix search? Can you make search less of a soul-crushing experience? Because I had to add an add-on just to get rid of the For You section in search.
There's 30 mini games that are coming. Yeah, we've got our own mini game here at Level 1, and that is Engagement Challenge.
And it's probably better than some of the Angry Birds Showdown, Daily Solitaire, Daily Crossword. This is just shovelware.
Yeah, just why would I play this on YouTube?
Because you don't have a PC that can do normal gaming?
I guess, yeah.
Although now you could do the cloud gaming if you want to. So, well, actually, you know what? I missed a great lead in there, because the answer to your question could be that mainstream gaming is driving you away with their horribleness.
Ubisoft blames technical error, quote unquote, for showing pop-up ads in Assassin's Creed. Yes, it's definitely a technical error that all of the infrastructure and coding necessary to do this was there.
This just makes me want to like scream.
You would see this when you press the button to go to the map.
If you scroll down, there's an actual GIF of it. You can see the video. It's very dark, but
yeah,
literally goes to hit his inventory and it's like, whoop.
And then now their excuse was, "Oh, we meant that to be on the title menu, not the map screen," which isn't really that much better.
They're probably doing some sort of A/B testing there, and they're going to see what people will tolerate.
They definitely got a response, didn't they? I'm trying to remember what this is. Oh, right, yeah. Another merger and acquisition. And remember that whenever these happen, they tell us, first of all, nobody's going to lose their job and prices are not going to go up. Those are always the two linchpins of all mergers.
Broadcom has officially closed all the details of their VMware acquisition. A lot of magic things happening there, including, oh, you work from home for VMware? Not for long, you don't. And also, already people are being laid off.
You don't work for VMware at all.
Yeah, you work for Broadcom. Broadcom's going to do things.
No, you don't work for Broadcom anymore either.
Why?
You're gone.
And if you're not gone yet and you work from home, you're not going to work from home very much longer. The CEO literally said, I hope you can walk on water.
And when you are at home crying because you're now unemployed because another merger has destroyed your job, maybe you want to watch some videos on your mobile phone to feel better. But you're probably going to have to downgrade your plan because now you're unemployed. So you're going to have to suffer another indignity.
Charter to reduce mobile video streaming resolution for some customers because they don't want to upgrade their network.
480 in 2023. Really?
I was about to make a joke about 480, but that's actually what it's going to be.
It's literally 480, yeah. And this is a marketing analysis blog. There's a lot of new speak in here, but basically this is cord cutting, and oh boy, is it stepping up.
Global pay TV penetration to fall for the first time in 2024. You know why? It's because there's too many services that want money for video content.
I might be thinking, wait a minute, how could that be going up? Well, global is the keyword here. Now in the United States, and probably most of the Western world, it's been declining massively. But meanwhile, other countries have been stepping up, more people getting TVs.
Well, it's been declining massively for cable TV, but if you do crazy stuff and treat Netflix and Disney and Hulu separately and then add that number to cable TV, even in the US, it's been going up. But it shows signs that it's actually getting worse.
It's starting to wobble.
Yeah, people are starting to get rid of okay, I'm going to get rid of Netflix and Disney, but I'll keep Hulu. Or I'm going to get rid of Disney and Hulu, but I'll keep Netflix. Or I'm going to get rid of all three and go with the crazy streaming site for Indian soap operas.
It's been declining in the U.S. since 2016.
But not the aggregate though, right?
Yes.
Even the aggregate? Since 2016?
Yes. When this penetration metric, yes.
Well, maybe from them. There are other places that have said that the aggregate of everything has been increasing.
It wouldn't make a lot of sense for all those companies to invest so heavily in new shows and stuff if they didn't think it was going up. But
who's investing other than the streaming services?
That's what I mean. They keep putting out all these giant shows and stuff and putting all their budgets into it.
But this is literally the TV. The old school TV. Okay. But I mean, they are doing some stuff he's talking about, which is you get this content on your TV as a kind of a bundle, but still, America has been crapping on the cord for a long time, as they should.
Yeah, it should all come from the internet at this point.
And Samsung, if you're like, hey, I got to get away from Chrome because it's all this. They're getting rid of my ad blockers and they're getting rid of my cookies and I don't trust Firefox or whatever. Maybe you've been praying for a new browser.
Samsung Internet Browser finally comes to Windows PC.
I like the exclamation point here. Oh my God, we've all been waiting.
It's taken them this long to implement Bixby on Windows. It was the personal assistant that I never knew I needed.
I love this article too because they point out the biggest benefits is all these things you can do. And then the next paragraph is, none of that works right now. But it's eventually gonna, so you should get this.
I don't think anybody actually uses Samsung products because it's there is room for innovation here in software, but this ain't it.
Well, if you're looking for innovation, maybe you want to go to some conferences. But even that, and this dark timeline, is all just fake and terrible.
The 404 headline is Tech Conference Collapses After Organizer Admits to Making Fake, quote-unquote, auto-generated female speaker. So this is kind of a lot controversial, actually.
So
will do anything but hire a woman.
I care, I code, I devternity. Literally a fake person. Doesn't exist. She was on their website as like part of the team
for
and,
multiple years.
Yeah. Oh, so we're so diverse because we have these women in high ranking positions. It was just the same dude. He was running her social media accounts as well.
Just literally anything to avoid hiring a woman, or even just like getting her to speak for the conference. Like just find someone. I don't understand it.
Well, it's cheaper.
I guess, yeah.
And maybe the women don't want to go to those conferences because now that they're all online, it's just too taxing.
Video conferencing fatigue is real, study finds. Your brain and your heart do not enjoy Zooming, Teamsing, or WebExing.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people like to feel productive. It's like, I'd like to get some work done and accomplish some stuff. And most of the time, these video conferences are not that at all. I mean, there's some video conferences I've been on where it's like literally the 4th or 5th time we've been over something. It's like, did you not take notes the last time? Like, do you want the answer to be different?
I want a Teams plugin that lets me assign demerits for unnecessary Teams meetings.
They don't do anything. They just make them feel bad about themselves.
No, if they accumulate too many, they should be jailed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so tired. I don't want to hear thank you. If you say thank you on Teams, you are the worst kind of terrorist.
How about a thumbs up on the
message? No. If everything's okay, silence is the perfect response. You must not. Don't tell me that you appreciate me. And
the ghost.
We've been invaded. NFTs and Web3 and all that stuff. It's how's that doing these days, huh?
Is GameFi dead? 3 and 4 projects have failed. How many Web3 games have failed? Basically all of them.
Web 3.0. There are so many articles about that like a couple years ago. Like I always read like trends in web around this time of year because it's the beginning of the new year. And
I think Web 3.0 may be an AI agent that you just, you talk to the large language model and it's like, hey, large language model, this product on Amazon, I like it, but it costs too much. Let me know when it goes on sale or find it cheaper somewhere else. And then it just quietly is in the background every day, just looking out for that. And then it's like, hey, I got this cheaper. It's like, I don't care anymore. And then it just deletes it. Or it says, hey, I found a really good deal on that thing. And it lets me know.
Until Amazon gamifies it. And it's like, you can pay a little extra to be referenced by our AI.
Yeah.
The same system we're in now.
Or it's like, here are the people that I would want to try to get Christmas presents for. Go find their social media and see what they like so I don't have to bother doing that. And then the AI, the large language model, is like, yes, I have tapped into Amazon's database to find the stuff that they want. And these are your options. Like, good job, AI.
That would be useful.
Yeah, I don't see that happening because new software generally is garbage. But sometimes there's a tiny glimmer amongst all that sewage and coal. And my God, when you find it, sometimes it just keeps giving.
Baldur's Gate 3 Colossal new patch adds playable epilogue set 6 months after the game ends with 3,589 new lines of dialogue, 2 new difficulty modes, and I'm running out of headline space.
I picked this article just because I'm running out of headline space.
It is amazing that those 3,500 lines of dialogue still appreciate what you did leading up to that.
Yeah.
And tailors it. It's just amazing what they've done with that dialogue system.
I couldn't help it. Like I did watch some of the epilogues I needed to know, and there are a lot of different endings based on what you've chosen.
Makes sense. I mean, there's so many branches in that game.
Great game.
And like we say, if you're dying for a new browser, maybe the new year is the time for a new browser.
Firefox 120 is out with the ability to copy links without tracking and more privacy tools.
Which, I mean, you could kind of do this before, but it's neat that, like, when you right-click, you'll see it.
I've literally already gotten emails saying there's something wrong because we're not getting any tracking numbers from our email campaigns. And I'm like, no, that's a feature. Like, I literally told you 2 or 3 months ago that was coming. And now you're sending me an email to be like, hey, there's something broken. And it's like, no, the thing that you're doing is not allowed anymore.
Well, there's something else broken. And that something is U.S. manufacturing. And it ain't going to be fixed very soon.
Nvidia CEO says it's going to take the U.S. 20 years to achieve chip-making independence from China and Taiwan despite booming fab construction and subsidies. Yes, I feel, I've read some of the TSMC I don't know, blog post is not the right thing, but it's just like, hey, we need to find qualified people that know about ABC XYZ or have really solid science education, and they need to hire 10,000 of them. It's a bit of a problem right now for us.
Now, to be fair, that was a little bit of an incendiary headline. He said 10 to 20.
Yeah, well,
But I'd say it's probably closer to 20 than it is to 10.
if you're
Let's
watching
not
this,
go optimistic on this.
if you're watching this show and looking into higher education, chip making, but I don't know where to tell you to go to like get on the fast track. Move to Taiwan, work for TSMC for 4 or 5 years, and then come back. I don't know what that looks like.
Well, I try to avoid new technologies that are unproven, that kind of promise the sky. But according to this, we have at least a little bit of proof that this one might be the real thing.
Fanless AirJet cooler experiment boosts MacBook Air performance to match the MacBook Pro's performance without using a fan.
Did require some modifications.
Quite a few.
To dig some holes in that chassis to get that to work. But you might be thinking, oh, that sounds good. How can I get that to play with? You can't. It doesn't exist yet. At least not for the consumer.
This whole thing has been a maneuver to convince Apple to use their products in Apple laptops. But I've got news for you. Apple doesn't care about having a really fast laptop. They care about margins.
They actually have an army of people with these magic cards, and they will keep selling those laptops no matter what. They might not ever get them paid for, but that's Goldman Sachs' problem.
If I want a new laptop every year, and it takes me 2 years to buy off a laptop, how long until I...
This is a word problem. I'm already tired.
Yeah. Let me ask ChatGPT. And we got the big earnings call, and now all the numbers have been crunched. There is a new number one in town.
Nvidia beats TSMC and Intel to take the top chip industry revenue crown for the first time. Yes, the profit margins. When you're selling a GPU for $40,000, $50,000 that originally had an MSRP of like $10K, that's a pretty insane margin.
Did you guys see all of the footage of Black Friday? Basically, nobody was there.
Yeah, no, non-existing.
My family usually goes, and none of them were talking about it at Thanksgiving.
People don't want to go to the stores anymore. There's been a sea change here, and they especially don't want to go to the stores and strap on something that someone else has just got all their stink and sweat all over it.
Meta's VR headsets have a sweat sharing problem. In stores, people are hesitant to put something on their face that others have used, and that's hurting sales. Yeah, apparently a lot of people that I'm surprised really like the Quest 3, really like the Quest 3. Like the Quest 3 is getting a lot of genuine, actual praise. More so than I would have expected.
So their solution to this is that they are now staffing Meta employees in places like Best Buy to hose down the VR after every use and prep it.
We had to do that when we had the VR headset that we were testing.
Yeah, that was very sweaty.
You know, the other thing that's been really surprising is that you can buy Starlink in some Best Buys now. Or I guess get a preview of it and just be like, here's Starlink.
They probably just got an Ethernet cable plugged in. Oh, yeah, it's super fast.
I need to tell my neighbors about that. They're always asking about Starlink.
I mean, what, do they just have it mounted on the roof? Because you can't actually have it in the store.
Yeah, they've got a little setup in the store to be like, here's what you need. You just take this and go set it up and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it's like a working demo in the store. It's just that you can sign up for it or get the kit there in the store. Or they're prepping for it, I guess. I'm not sure.
Well, one thing that we've become intimately familiar with here is fake products and how ubiquitous they are.
Fake display cables.
Oh,
it's a big problem with Amazon.
If you buy a KVM,
a lot of my personal suffering.
Please check your cables before you email us.
But it turns out you're not alone. It is actually a global issue.
Tom's Hardware's headline is Fake HDMI Cable Crackdown, and Taiwanese police raid suppliers of counterfeit HDMI cables and seize 2.6 million in knockoffs in a single day. Those are probably going to come here to the U.S.
Now, this is not necessarily about them being poor performance, although that is often the case. But this is about them not paying the licensing fee, because HDMI is a licensed technology. So some of these could be perfectly functional, but it seems like the average is no. And more bad news for Mr. Elon Musk as he struggles with the Swedes. He has another problem here on the home front.
Your turn, quote unquote. United Auto Workers launches a campaign to unionize Tesla. Okay. That's actually kind of funny.
We'll see if they're successful.
This on the eve of the Cybertruck event. So that's pretty fun.
And we have a new number one when it comes to that global chip market, but we also have a new number one when it comes to delivery here in the United States, and it's not surprising.
UPS and FedEx are no longer the largest delivery companies in the U.S. It's Amazon.
I mean, every time you go to an airport, you see tons of Amazon planes now.
Oh, I mean, if you drive on the road,
Yeah.
the blue vans are everywhere. They're aggressive.
Wouldn't you be if you were peeing in a bottle?
Probably.
Yeah, you have to be.
And we see a lot of stuff about Apple not wanting to ruffle anybody's feathers. Apple really is trying to be just friendly to everybody. And that includes the communists, it seems, but also maybe the MAGA crowd.
Inside, the Variety headline is Inside Robert De Niro's Gotham Awards speech debacle.
Exclusive.
So Apple changed his speech at the last minute. He did not get the memo. And it's like, oh, he wasn't in. How would he have been in the loop? His speech apparently changed 10 minutes before he went on stage. Like,
meaning the teleprompter.
Yeah.
So
he noticed.
Yeah.
Someone came up to the teleprompter operator with a USB stick and was like, "Here, we have a new speech. You need to load it." And they were like, "Who are you?" And she said, "Oh, I work for Apple." And no questions were asked.
Which, yeah, it's like, is that just Stuxnet? Like, we just plug in random USB that someone hands you?
But also, hey, this is the Gotham Awards. We don't work for Apple, right? Like, why would you have the authority to change the speech?
So
did Mr. De Niro ask you to bring me this USB stick? Because where did it come from?
He read his original speech from a phone, or from his phone, which is really good, I guess.
No, I don't think he did it on the show, right? I think he did that later. He talked about it, right?
Maybe.
I don't know. I didn't read that one that closely. And moving on to some social media, of course.
This is what I was talking about in the first episode.
The Meta debacle and a lot of the stuff that we talked about in the government section came from all of this discovery in this court case.
Meta designed platforms to get children addicted, court documents allege. But not just the court documents allege. Like, if you read the actual exhibits, things are phrased like, oh, we really think this is in the, the 11 to 13-year-old psyche, and we should really build this around that. And it's like, what?
There's some great quotes in here from the engineers. It's like, I think we're doing our users a disservice here.
Nobody ever listens to engineering, as it turns out.
The presentation discussed teen brains being driven by
novelty and reward. And we should build around that. And it's like, no, what? No.
I mean, that's just that they were trying to be TikTok.
Yeah.
But they weren't as good at it as TikTok. How depressing for them. And once again, with the election coming up, every week we're going to have these stories. You must keep banging the danger drum up until the election. So this is the first beat.
CNBC's headline here is Meta's latest threats report shows risk of Chinese influence campaigns ahead of elections. But don't forget the other story that we covered, which is Meta's not being briefed on foreign influence. So what is this headline talking about? It's like, well, this is talking about the last time they were briefed. A year ago.
I have another warning for you. Meta is going to be influencing elections. And Meta and Google are not usually bros. They don't usually get together on many topics. But when it comes to regulatory capture and controlling any upstarts, they can definitely agree.
Meta joins Google in turning its back on the open web and embracing unconstitutional mandates that pretend to protect the children. TechDirt, somebody else has noticed that, like, wait a minute, under this protect the children thing, they're trying to ram through a lot of things that have nothing to do with any of that.
This is mostly about age verification, which will be a complicated and expensive thing to maintain, which means that if you were an upstart social media company, you would never be able to manage it. But you might legally have to if they get their way. I love these little Verge, like
it's literally, just a tiny post.
This one block article. But once again, this is about advertising showing up where the advertisers don't want it to.
The Verge's headline is Bumble and Match.com are suspending ads on Instagram. Those are dating companies, and apparently something Instagram.
So they set up some accounts to test. Let's pretend that we're young gymnasts, cheerleaders, and influencers. And they got the kind of content that you probably wouldn't want those people to get. And they got advertisements for Bumble and Match while viewing that content. And the same kind of thing is going on over at Twitter. And some people are insisting that their ads are running on the posts that they don't like, and they're leaving.
Washington Post will pause its advertising on X.
What if we're somehow going back to a web where like advertising's less of a thing and it's actually a good course correction?
I'm not a big
I don't think that's what's going to happen, but
I'm not a big Twitter user, but if you were saying like what could you tell me about Twitter that would make you actually want to go back there? One of the things would be the Washington Post is no longer on Twitter.
I would just say no advertising.
In Elon Musk's thing, his diatribe was interesting. Like his heart is in the right place if you take everything at face value, but it's more complicated than that.
And once again, if you tell me, hey, this certain group of people is never going to be on Twitter again, I feel like that's a huge bonus for me.
Paris mayor calls the X platform quits, calling it a gigantic global sewer. She was seeing things she didn't want to see.
I have to wonder how much people scroll through it because I feel like there's not a whole lot to look at on Twitter, but maybe I'm just imagining that.
And one thing that our government wants to do is, interestingly, perfectly aligned. Was it Nikki Haley that introduced the...
Yeah.
Interesting that Nikki Haley is right on the same page as the Chinese Communist Party here.
The TechNerd headline is the main Chinese social media platforms now require top influencers to display their real names online. We covered this 2 or 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is a little bit more of a follow-up. There's some more details with this. They are moving forward with this. It's like we need to know who you really are. The good version of that is to make sure you're a real person, that you're not got some agenda. But the bad version of that is so that we can know who you are at all times to coerce you into saying the right thing. And it's like,
But they point out that you already had to register with the government to be a major influencer. They already knew your real name. Now everybody gets to know your real name. It's not just the government. It has to be displayed on all of your stuff.
Isn't that the plausible deniability thing though? Like, didn't the FBI do that kind of thing with Martin Luther King where it's like, it's not the FBI. It's this crazy person that's harassing you, Dr. King.
Well, how would Martin Luther King have dealt with the smartphone generation?
That was a clumsy segue, but I'll accept it. So we're just making things up over here.
This is a great headline, though.
Narcissistic individuals are more afraid of being without their phones. Yeah.
That's some self-reporting.
Yeah.
I was just telling my husband today that I resent having to take my phone everywhere because I almost left it at home.
Yeah. Plus, based on, reading all these stories and what we know, you're better off without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is really convenient.
It's really nice to have my music on. Like, that's the reason I take it when I go in the car.
I don't even care about any of that. Most of the time, it's a conditioned response for me because a lot of the time I get a message that's like, I've got my hand in this blender thing and I keep pressing the buttons and nothing's happening. Like, I really want to.
It's always an emergency like that. It's like, stop, no.
Well, it's not only is it an emergency, like the person sending the message doesn't realize what they're doing is so stupid. And it's like, if I don't respond immediately, it's going to be a much worse situation with hand and blender than just be like, stop.
See, but I resent that. Like, that makes me angry. So I try to avoid looking at tiny internet.
So your argument is that if you didn't use your phone constantly, the world wouldn't be able to operate without you?
Yeah. I don't want it to be like that. It just feels like that.
Did we actually read the headline there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll switch back to it. Just
for a visual.
And we got a couple of design stories.
They're all about Reddit. Evolving the Reddit brand, a more accessible, bespoke typography, new conversation, bubbles and colors, blah, blah, blah. This was done by Pentagram, which is a pretty big design agency.
That's the devil.
That is, but it's also a very large design agency. I saw it. It popped up on Reddit this week. If you looked at the logo.
Oh, they did. They commissioned their own font.
They did. I will say, website's still kind of iffy. It doesn't look like they did anything to it other than change out the little guy. But I really like the negative space in the D's because it has like the little like quote mark on it.
How about the? He's so much happier.
He is happier. The little character is kind of hit or miss for me, but I like the new typography. I think is better. That negative space though, you can see it a little better on this one. They did a lot of really cool custom animation work too, and it's not reflected anywhere on Reddit.
Kind of give him more of a Japanese avatar feel.
Yeah, he's a lot cuter now, I think.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, see how the negative space has got the little...
That's somebody put a lot of thought into that. I would have never noticed it.
Yeah, I was immediately... I noticed it instantly, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And that's one of those things, too, when you, like, size the font down, you have to design something called an ink trap to make it so that you can still, like, distinguish it. So that's a lot of work.
Oh, man, I would love to tear into that chicken sandwich right now.
Yeah. But none of these animations are actually in Reddit. It's like they just did it for their portfolio, I guess. Maybe it'll show up eventually.
All right, well, there's another Wednesday.
Yep. Bye.